So something weird is going on with Spyro Reignited Trilogy on the Switch. Now, if you remember, this came out last year, PS4, Xbox One. It was absent on the PC, which was strange, but it was also absent on the Switch. However, we had heard rumors that it was making its way over, and of course, it was announced during that sizzle reel, kind of, in the last Direct at E3. We saw it shown, and then we found out it was coming out in September 2nd, 2019 here, so just over a month. And there's some odd things going on right now after the market page for it here for the eShop was updated. Some things have changed around, and it's possible, I'll say possible, that the Switch version could end up being the one that most people want to buy physically because it may not require a download. Now, if you're unaware, maybe you passed on it at the time, Spyro was pretty frustrating for a lot of people if you bought it physically because you still had to download parts of 2 and 3, whereas the first one was pretty much completely on the disc. The second and third one had levels that had to be downloaded. Basically, partial amounts of the game were on the disc, but you had to download the rest to actually even really play it. So that was a whole thing. There were also no subtitles present. I did a whole video on it, and it did seem like they were kind of stitching it all together right at the last minute. I thought about that, and that actually made some sense as to why a lot of it turned out the way it did, and possibly why the Switch version could end up avoiding all of that. Now, since the release, Spyro Reignited Trilogy on the PlayStation 4, for example, has moved from over, I think it was like 60-something gigabytes. It's now down to 36 gigabytes, so they've managed to shrink the file size on the PlayStation 4. But check this out. This is actually on the Nintendo page for Spyro. And one thing that everyone noticed is, one, they changed the box art to where it doesn't say anything about a download being required, but they also updated it so that the file size is 6.3 gigabytes. That's pretty small. That would fit on an 8 gigabyte cartridge, of course, and that's 3 Spyro games, and that's pretty good if you really consider what's on the cartridge and what we started with, which was a very bloated game, a game that technically wouldn't fit on a single Blu-ray even at the time. They had to, even if they wanted to, you still had to download parts of it because it was 60-something gigabytes. So people are now thinking that the Switch version may come out and just have everything on the cartridge. Like, there won't be any download required outside of, like, the typical update that we always have to do nowadays. You know, it's surprising if you put a game into your Switch, your PS4, your Xbox One, and there isn't an update, right? That's like, it's like, whoa, what? There's no update. Wow, that's amazing. So it's an interesting thing to think about here, to consider. I do want to point out that on the Spyro Reignited Trilogy's actual website, which you can go to from this button, obviously, still has the little download required thing here. So according to Activision, at least, it still appears that you will be downloading something for it, but they, as weird as it sounds, might actually be behind a little bit on that. It's an interesting situation right now, and you might be wondering, well, how could they even do that? How in the world could Activision and Toys for Bob get this game down to that size? It's impossible. Well, they've actually already done something very similar. Take Crash Bandicoot, for example, right here, right? 23 gigabytes on the PlayStation 4. Do you know how large it is on the Switch? It's 5.3 gigabytes. So they've already actually done this technically. I mean, that's still 3 Crash games. It was, of course, just all on one cartridge, but it was also all on one disc for a Blu-ray, and I feel like the Spyro Reignited Trilogy felt way more rushed than Crash, right? It really, really was. They remember they had to delay it for like a few months, and we thought they were delaying it so that they could fit all of the games on one disc, but it turns out that wasn't the case. I think they wanted to get it out because the hype for Crash was rolling. They were getting some great sales out of it, and they said, well, let's do Spyro now. And I think they probably should have delayed the Spyro situation because it seems that they probably could have put it all on one Blu-ray now, for example. Like, let's say it came out September 2nd on all platforms. It's coming out everywhere, on everything, you know. Most likely, based on what we're seeing with the file size that it has been moved to on the PS4, it would have just been all on one disc. That wouldn't have been an issue. right? That would have been fine. And if the Switch version does indeed come out and it's all on one cartridge, well, that I assume is going to be the one that most people want, because it is actually a way to preserve, obviously, the game. When the servers get shut down, what do you do about the second, like the second and third game on the PS4 or the Xbox One? I don't know. I don't know how all this. That's the thing. We don't know how all of this works. And it's not like the Switch, obviously, is immune to that situation, as there are several games that require a download for the Switch to even start. So we don't really know what's going to happen with all of that. So that's why a lot of people don't like the fact that it could have that download. And if you can find a game that doesn't require it, it's kind of a funny thing to see that it might end up being the Switch version that doesn't require a download from the internet, whereas we're used to it being the other way, where the PS4 and the Xbox version, because they're using larger Blu-rays, obviously, don't need that download. So kind of interesting there. It seems like for some people who maybe just skipped it at the time, may actually benefit from everything being on one cartridge. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. I want to say that there's still a chance, okay, that it still needs a download. It seems very all over the place. We're not really sure right now. We either need a statement from Activision or Toys for Bob, or even, I guess, Nintendo, if they can tell us as to what's happening here, and if we can count on everything being on the cartridge. Because then, yeah, most people will just get it on the Switch. I do think that they should consider redoing or reprinting the PS4 discs and the Xbox discs, so that everything's just on the disc, right? Because again, we don't know what happens in 20 years if you want to go back and play this, if the servers aren't there. Thanks, guys, for watching. Let me know what you think about this situation down below. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.